Let's talk about embryology from the gastrula stage to the embryo stage. Gastrulation occurs on about day 7 and is the process in which the inner cell mass of the blastocyst turns into the 3 germ layers, the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. The blastocyst is now called a gastrula. Gastrulation is when cells begin to differentiate or change to form specific organ systems. The 3 germ layers, first one is the ectoderm, the outer layer. It forms the skin or epidermis, the nervous system, including the eye and the ear. The mesoderm forms the skeleton, muscles, and gonads, which we can remember with the phrase, so many gonads. So skeleton, muscle, and gonads. The 3rd layer, the innermost layer, the endoderm, forms the lining of the digestive and respiratory systems, along with the endocrine glands, which we can remember with the acronym RED. Respiratory, endocrine, and digestive. Now, the endocrine glands that are made by the endoderm include the thyroid, the parathyroid, the adrenals, and the pancreas. Why not the pituitary and hypothalamus? Because that is part of the brain, it's in the nervous system. And the gonads are made by the mesoderm. Neurulation is formation of a neural tube which develops into the brain and the spinal cord. This too happens during the gastrula stage. Morphogenesis is the biological process that causes an organism to develop its shape. Examples include formation of the blastocyst, gastrula, germ layers, and etc. So basically the entire formation of the fetus is a process that can be referred to as morphogenesis. The extra embryonic membranes are formed after implantation. The chorion is the outer membrane of the blastocyst. It secretes HCG until the 2nd trimester or the first 3 months. It is the fetal contribution to the placenta and the site of gas, nutrient, and waste exchange. The amnion is the inner membrane. So just inside the chorion is this dark pink layer. Amnion is the blue layer. It becomes fluid-filled sac that protects the embryo from infection, impact, and temperature fluctuations. It takes a great deal of energy to change the temperature of water by just 1 degree, and that's why the amnion protects the fetus or embryo from temperature fluctuations. The allantois forms the foundation of the umbilical cord and becomes part of the bladder. The yolk sac in other animals provides nutrients. Those would be animals that are born in an egg. The yolk sac is small in humans and forms some rudimentary blood cells. So the chorion is the outermost layer. It's the dark pink on here. Remember that it has 4 functions. It helps to implant. It secretes HCG for the first 3 months of pregnancy, maintaining the corpus luteum. It forms the placenta, and it also forms the amnion. The amnion is the layer, here we go. Sorry, the chorion is the fetal portion of the placenta. So let's talk about the chorionic villi that are making their way into the mom's side of the placenta, which is the endometrium. Okay, now on to the amnion. It fills with amniotic fluid during pregnancy to protect the embryo and fetus. There's the embryo. The allantois forms the umbilical cord and the bladder. And the yolk sac, we can see how big it is in animals born in an egg. In us, we don't need it for nutrients, so it's much smaller and forms some blood cells. The maternal portion of the placenta is a pool of blood, and it looks like there's a space between the chorionic villi and the blood. There is not. They are separated by 1 layer of cells like capillaries are in your body to provide maximum diffusion. Okay, so here we see close-up of the placenta. Here's the umbilical cord. Here are the chorionic villi. They have spread out. They are surrounded by a pool of the mom's blood.